Today, with Euro 2020, or rather 21 in mind, we look back at the history of this competition that takes place every 4 years. Formerly known as the European Cup of Nations and then renamed to the European Championship of Nations, the Euro is celebrating its 65th anniversary this year. The tournament we know today has been modified on numerous occasions and has gone through several formats. Here is a look back at the key dates that have marked the Euro. Subscribe to Megafoot, the best of football in video. 1927. The idea was born in the mind of one man, Henry Delaunay, General Secretary of the FFF. He wanted to create a European competition in which national teams would compete. Hugo Meisel, coach of the Austrian Wunder team, was seduced by the project. Together they tried to convince FIFA, but they were categorically refused. The federation was too focused on the World Cup and feared that such a competition would overshadow their own. 1954. Years passed, but Henry Delaunay's idea did not die out. That year, UEFA was created to manage and develop football on a continental scale. Henry Delaunay was appointed General Secretary of the association. With this new organization, his hopes were revived. However, his project was rejected again at the first UEFA Congress a year later. The reason? Player fatigue. European clubs did not want to be asked to do more. A few months later, Henry Delaunay died at the age of 72, but his project did not die out because his son, Pierre Delaunay, decided to take up the torch. He relentlessly pestered UEFA to re-examine his father's proposal. The federation gave in to the pressure and agreed to study it. In 1960, the first European Championship was officially launched. For the first edition, 17 teams were registered. There were some big absentees, such as Italy, England, and West Germany. In spite of this, the competition succeeded in winning over the public. At that time, there was no group stage. The competition started with a classic knockout format where teams played each other until the final in a two-legged match. A third-place playoff is introduced. In this first edition, it was the Soviet Union that won the title in Paris, since France had been designated the host country. The immediate success of this first edition led UEFA to expand the number of participants. 1964. For the second edition of the European Championship, the number of participants increased from 17 to 29. Before the round of 16, a preliminary round phase was held, in which the teams also played each other in two-legged matches. 1968. 4 years later, the format was further adapted to the number of participants. The preliminary round was replaced by the group stage as we know it today. 8 groups were formed. The winners of each group qualified directly for the quarterfinals and then played each other again in two-legged matches until the final. If the result of 2 matches is a draw, the winner is decided by a referee's toss of a coin. This is what happened to Italy, as the penalty shootout system was not introduced until 1970 World Cup. 1976. The public attended extra time for the first time. Czechoslovakia and West Germany were unable to break the deadlock in the final. It was not until the penalty shootout and Antonin Panenka's famous spot kick that Czechoslovakia won the European title. A new page in football history was written in the aftermath. 1980. The tournament was redesigned again. The first and second legs of the quarterfinals have been abolished, but the preliminary pools have been retained. 7 teams in addition to the host team qualify for the final phase. A final phase is now organized in 2 groups. The teams then compete in turn, and the team with the highest number of points qualifies for the final. The runners-up in each group play for third place. 1984. Just 4 years later, the format was changed again. The concept remained the same, only the top 2 of each group played each other in the semi-final. The third place match was finally dropped to give the players a rest. Generally speaking, as the competition grew, so did the number of participants. Following the collapse of the USSR, the number of national teams increased. All of them now want a taste of the competition. Due to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Israel also joined UEFA. 1996. 48 countries now participate in the Euro. The number of teams eligible for the finals was increased from 8 to 16 nations. This meant that there were no longer 2 but 4 groups, with the top 2 teams qualifying for the quarterfinals in each group. The same year also saw the adoption of the golden goal rule, which consisted of immediately stopping the match in extra time when one of the 2 teams scored. It was with this rule that Germany won its title. Then, it was France's turn 4 years later. Despite the emotions it aroused, UEFA decided to abolish it, notably for organizational reasons. It was then replaced by the silver goal for the 2004 edition. Unlike the golden goal, if one of the teams scores, the match continues until the end of the first extra time. It was eventually deemed unsatisfactory and was immediately abolished. 2016. UEFA agreed to change its format one last time. From now on, 24 teams will qualify for the finals in 6 groups of 4. The new format offers the possibility for nations where football is less developed to shine on the international scene. This will be the case for Iceland, who will dazzle Europe by qualifying for the quarterfinals. 2021. Finally, for this edition, there will be changes in terms of travel. While the tournament has always been held in a single host country, this time the competition will be held in 12 cities across the continent. Meanwhile, the other new feature is the first use of VAR in a European Football Championship. This could put an end to injustices. And that's the story of the famous championship. Wishing you a good Euro, and may the best win. Who do you think will win the 16th edition? Tell us what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching our video. If you liked it, don't hesitate to talk about our channel around you, to like it and to share it. See you soon for a new video. Ciao!